Hey everyone, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by John Cartwright, Steve Bowling, Ash Polson, and Bell Aim to reflect on 2019 and give our thoughts on the year for Nintendo. There's a lot to get through, so let's just get right to it with January. And right off the bat, we have January 11th, which just had a ton of games for some reason. We had Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s thing, whatever. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which introduced the Super Crown, and Tales of Vesperia, all on January 11th.
I forgot that Bowser's Inside Story was remastered until this very moment. I have no memory of this game.
I remember, I just can't believe it was this year.
Well, I remember, like, it even kind of turned me off, because I love these games, but what I really loved about Dream Team was the amazing 3D visuals, and then they stripped that 3D out of both re-releases for Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story, so they even turned me off. I'm like, I wanted to play these, and then, okay, never mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I love the 3D effects, so...
Yeah, and the Bowser Jr. side story is just so forgettable, both in Superstar Saga and in Bowser's Inside Story. It feels tacked on, doesn't feel like it's meant to be there.
Yeah, there's some cute moments, at least from what I played of Superstar Saga's remake, and, you know, at least that was only on the Game Boy Advance. This, you could still play on the 3DS, which just made it less exciting. Like, I know that's the big one, and who knows, maybe this was the Alpha Dreams Hail Mary play, as we'll talk about later in the year, but it just was entirely forgettable, and I would honestly say the same thing about New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe if it wasn't for that Super Crown and the fact that somebody invented Bowsette. That is the only memorable thing about that game.
I had forgotten.
Memorably
How
bad.
had you forget that?
This game sold like 4 million units, though, so it's hard to say that this was a mistake. But it was particularly they announced Super Mario Maker 2 just mere months, maybe even like 1 month after this came out, which is insane because that game pretty much replaces this game from like a 2D Mario perspective.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess the only difference is in between, instead of walking from node to node on a world map, you're like searching lists for 5 minutes for a good level in between levels. That's like the only... Otherwise, yes, it replaces it.
Yeah. Did any of us get a chance to play Tales of Vesperia?
I did,
I did not.
I wish. I wanted to so much.
Yeah, same. I wanted to.
I picked it up. I just haven't had time to play it because this was the game that made me want to buy a 360 back in the day. I heard so many people who love it, so it kills me I still haven't played it
It's a
yet.
fantastic game, and I wanted to revisit it so badly. But like you, Derek, I knew that if I bought it, it would just sit there. So one of these days, I hope.
Yeah, same.
This is one of those games that I intended to review, but I didn't have the time to do it, so I played maybe, I think, about 10 hours of the Switch version, and it's really good, but it basically is just Tales of Vesperia on the Switch. There's nothing too special about it, but I think they included a bunch of stuff from the unlocalized Japanese expanded version, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's Tales of Vesperia.
Yeah,
Right.
it's something I'll play eventually, someday, maybe, hopefully. There's a lot of Tales games
It's
on my
worth
list,
it, but
and
it's
they're
just,
long.
and they're all so long. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I haven't played any Tales of games, but I really want to because I hear nothing but good things.
Expect the 80 hours.
Oh gosh.
I think that's
I would
typically how they
say
go.
Vesperia and Symphonia are the ones you should check out. The others maybe only check out if you like those two.
Okay. Yeah, those are the two I hear about the most.
Yeah.
But moving on, we have January 18th, which saw the release of Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, which, Steve, you actually reviewed.
I did. I liked it, but I don't think it's what anyone was looking for from a No More Heroes game. It was neat. It, kind of top-down arcadey feel to it, but I don't think it really scratched that itch. It certainly didn't for me, and I think everyone was just left kind of wondering where the hell No More Heroes 3 is. We know the answer to that now. And there was a cool tease for the game at the end, but I think that was like the most noteworthy thing about the game was that it basically confirmed the existence of a proper sequel.
Yeah, I think that's
Right.
all anybody really cared about when it came to this, because it looked fine, but, then, as you said, it didn't really scratch that itch.
Yeah, it did have a bunch of cool Nintendo shirts in it, though, which was kind of neat.
I think the thing that stood out to me the most was the writing, because Derek, you and I previewed it a couple of times at various shows, and they would rewrite the script for every new show, like in context, and that was pretty cool. So the game seemed to have it had a great sense of humor, but beyond that, yeah, not what people wanted from No More Heroes.
The legacy is pretty much this is a stopgap game. It's fine, but no one's really going to think about it 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's just to get it back in the public conscious again. Although, what was the tease? Because I never actually looked at that, Steve.
Yeah, so when you beat the game, you actually get like a short scene where you're back in control of Travis, but it's in the more traditional view from behind him. And you can run around, and there's like a placeholder enemy there that it turns out, after we uploaded a video a couple weeks after the game came out so people could see it. And it shows a placeholder Unreal Engine enemy. And when you walk up to it, Travis basically literally confirms for you that No More Heroes 3 is in development.
That's pretty.
I remember that.
That's pretty appropriate because so the whole fact that it dealt around aliens invading and superheroes was still a surprise when they revealed No More Heroes 3. That works.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, moving on to the January 25th, we got the news that Nintendo has actually rebooted Metroid Prime 4 and gave development over to Retro Studios to take over the project. We still haven't seen anything since, but that felt big because it was so weird for a lot of people that Retro wasn't developing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the response to this was kind of shocking. I expected the gaming community to flip out that a Metroid game's being pushed back another couple of years, being restarted from scratch. But it was the exact opposite. People were very wholesome and accepting about this. And I think it's because the video they submitted was so transparent, and it's clear that they want the game to be the best that it can be. And it's just so cool to see that people are willing to wait for that.
Yeah, this reminded me of the shockingly positive, wholesome reception that the Mega Man Zero ZX collection got when it was delayed. You know, game enthusiasts are usually horrible when it comes to news like this, but like you said, John, we were really pleasantly surprised that they were so respectful about it. So it's always better to take the time to get it right, and we'll see more from Metroid Prime 4 eventually, but I'm glad to know that they're giving it to the right people.
Me too.
It's so rare to see Nintendo just completely reboot a game like after it's already been revealed too. Usually they have something a bit more solid ready, but yeah.
Even more rare is Nintendo openly admitting they're doing it.
Exactly, being so open and honest and straightforward about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm who knows when we're actually going to see it again, but I'm so curious what it's going to look like.
I know, I'm so excited
That's
for
for
it.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a lot more faith that the game will be good now, though.
Yes.
Just knowing that Nintendo was willing to do something so drastic to ensure its quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, same.
But then we have January 30th, which gave us our first piece of DLC for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in the form of the Piranha Plant. Which
I still remember, I still remember how off that felt when Piranha Plant was announced, because it was kind of part of that. It was just like kind of an extra. Oh yeah, and this is happening too, and it didn't feel like a real character announcement. And I remember we were all like, does this really fit? And then we were kind of mixed on it, and then it comes out, and it's still a ton of fun to play. I still play Piranha Plant fairly frequently.
I played him recently. I suck at him.
Yeah, when it was first revealed, I think a lot of us were really against the idea of him being a playable character. But whenever I play against Piranha Plants online, I always have a blast. He's just such a fun character to play against. And it's cool that Smash Ultimate doesn't just rely on the best of the best. It's cool just to have some fun characters in there every now and then.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I also love how they used him for Joker's reveal, because he was the plant that he takes care of in the game.
Oh, yeah.
That's so
Oh, right.
That was good. I like the idea that they could just make a Smash character out of anything. I mean, as you said, it doesn't have to be the best of the best. I mean, why else would Ice Climbers be there?
Nice.
Yeah, right.
They have one game that's not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
like
a statement.
Piranha Plant.
Yeah, Piranha Plant means anyone can get into Smash.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
Another
Derek, what are you
example of
talking
breaking
about?
the
Anything with that, any old school Nintendo game with that seal of quality has to be a classic. Come on, Urban Champion.
is true.
These games are all great.
I'm telling you, the second wave of DLC, Urban Champion getting in.
Oh,
It also
God.
shows that a character that you really think wouldn't get in because of size or moveset or whatever can make it in, because a Piranha Plant, how can it move? But they did it. It's so cool.
It has the
On
best
that
movement.
note, I do love Piranha Plant's running animation. It never ceases to crack me up.
It's so cute. His little feet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then the next day after Piranha Plant, we got the announcement of Dr. Mario World. Okay, that's all we have to actually say about that. Really,
I
I'm
haven't
still
touched this
caring
game
about
since
this
it
game.
came out. I
Yeah.
have nothing to say about
Me
this.
either. I played it that day it came out, and that is it.
It is fine.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing I can say about it is that it isn't the worst mobile game Nintendo released this year.
That is true.
Yeah.
They keep making every Mario character into a doctor, though. They just revealed Dr. Dry Bowser. He's dead.
I mean,
how?
Who would be who would best know to prevent you from dying than a dead guy?
He has experience in that area.
Think about the other dry characters. I mean, and it's not that I hate it. That's not my style of game in general, so I just didn't get into it.
Yeah, I just sort of
Same.
lost interest, like especially because the challenge modes in order to get the important bits of those, like to complete it, they're so hard and so particular, and I just lost all interest. So
yeah.
Steve, you said you were enjoying it though.
Yeah, I was. Well, not anymore. During the preview period, I mean, but to be fair, and I explained this in my preview, I kind of had like a special experience because Nintendo gave me a special build of the game where I didn't have to buy anything. I could just like pull characters, an unlimited amount. And I think we ended up doing math. And had I actually spent money on the game, I would have been like $600 deep to get every character. And that was with just the starting roster.
Insane.
That's a bargain.
So yeah, it was a fun game, but once it came out, I literally never played it again. I had some fun in the preview, but yeah, it didn't have legs for me either.
Oh man.
And then we finally get to move over into February, which I think, Steve, you're the only one who actually got the chance to play this, but you reviewed Wargroove, which released on February 1st.
And I had a lot of fun with it. It was my first kind of like larger review for the channel because I had joined just 2 months prior, right?
Yeah.
And Wargroove was hotly anticipated because we didn't have a Fire Emblem yet. And I made this like fun little skit where you guys all trash talk me and John's a dog using the game's in-game cutscene editor. But Wargroove is fantastic, and if you haven't played it, you really should. It's an amazing little game. It's super cheap. You can cross-play across like every platform now except for PS4, I think. So on your Switch, you can play a game against a friend who's on Steam or Xbox or whatever. And it's asynchronous, so they can send a turn to you, and next time you log into the game, that turn will be waiting. So it's just a really fun game, and it's got a really fun campaign. Characters are nice, animation's beautiful. Feels a lot more like an Advance Wars than a Fire Emblem, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. It has that sort of art style to it, and it looks good. I just haven't had a chance to check it out. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Feels like people are sleeping on this game because it came out right at the start of the year. I played it a bit, didn't get to play as much as I wanted to. But it's definitely worth checking out if you missed out on it at the start of the year, though.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely.
And then February 13th hit, and it's just like the dam broke. Everything happened, because that was the day we got a Nintendo Direct where they announced Super Mario Maker 2, Astral Chain, Link's Awakening Remake, Box Boy and Box Girl, Hellblade for the Nintendo Switch, Rune Factory 4 Remake and Rune Factory 5, Delta Rune Chapter 1 for the Switch, Disney Sum Sum, paid DLC for Captain Toad, and a co-op update for that game. And not only that, we also got the shadow drop of Tetris 99 and Final Fantasy 9. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is one thing to take into account going into 2020. There will be a Direct pretty early on, and it will pretty much reveal the lineup of the year. Because we went into 2019 thinking, hey, there's going to be no games this year. Where are all the games? And this is where they were.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're definitely coming.
Right.
This was a big Direct, though. Astral Chain's reveal was the big one for me, I feel. That was just it was so cool to have a brand new IP just come out of nowhere, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, I still have to play that game.
And then to have it come out the same year.
Yeah.
Especially when we got the reveal of Bayonetta 3 and still haven't seen anything of it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And plus, all these games, they made their release dates. Like, nothing got delayed, which is really cool. Like, we got a lot of games released or announced at once, and they all came out pretty much when Nintendo hinted that they would. And I think the big one for me, and for probably a lot of people, was the Link's Awakening remake. And in hindsight, it was really good. Maybe nothing, like, mind-blowingly special, but really good. But that was the big one for me. When it ended with that trailer, I'm like, oh my god, one of my favorite Zelda games of all time is being remade. So many more people are going to get to experience this incredible game, and I'm so glad they have. So, yeah, that was the big one for me. But yeah, talk about a great Direct, and like you said, John, I think we can expect an early 2020 Direct doing much the same thing.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's just a question of whether it'll be late January or early February. And if I had to guess, it's probably going to be February.
Probably.
Yeah, I would think
Probably,
so.
but I'm hoping January, but probably.
Well, I suppose there's still a Smash character to be revealed, though, and February is the deadline for that, so perhaps maybe earlier.
I figure maybe January will be occupied by whatever Smash character that is. That's going to get the attention for January, and then February will get a proper direct.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that way you can have a proper direct and also Shadow Drop.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then maybe in the February direct we can get our first details on what's what the next Fighters Pass or whatever it's going to be is going to look like. What the format will
Sure.
be.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And it was really cool to have Tetris 99 come out of nowhere, because this game really added a bunch of value to Nintendo Switch Online. And it's I think it was my game of the year for 2019. So it's just really cool to have this just completely come out of the blue with no sign of it ever even, no even hint of this coming. It just sort of came out of nowhere, and it was a blast.
Yeah, it just was an utter surprise and still being played, still being supported. Really great reason to own Switch Online, actually, if you're into Tetris.
Yeah.
And this is also the day that made everybody think that you were a psychic, John, since Final Fantasy IX Shadow dropped. Or was it before? Because was this the point when we got all that, or was it the year before?
I think it was the year prior that they were all announced, and then 9 came out just out of nowhere, though. So like 7, 9, 10, they were already announced. Right. Yeah.
Still, it's the fruits of your labor revealed. Oh, goodness. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we get this year. But moving on, we got some news on February 21st as well, where Reggie announced that he's retiring as president of Nintendo of America, which was effective April 15th, which... That caught a lot of people off guard. Like people started talking about it as if he was dying.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, the way I did my video, I did a Reggie-spective video where we did like our top 10 Reggie moments, which was a ton of fun to put together, but the music I used kind of unintentionally furthered that narrative, because of course, like, I ended it with like the Mother 3 love theme. It sounded like the man was dying, and I'm like, no, we're celebrating his career, but if you go to the comments, people are like, why Mother 3? Why am I crying? Why? He's gonna live, he's fine. But
he's still around.
Exactly, and we saw that at the Game Awards just recently, and he's just the same old Reggie as he always was. But talk about the end of an era. That, I think for all of us it felt like a bit of a punch in the stomach, just because of course we want him to be happy, but he had been the face of NOA for so long, and it was like saying goodbye to a distant uncle who would come by every several months for cool stuff and bring cool gifts,
Yeah. He has a really great stage presence.
That's for sure.
For sure. It feels like people are still more excited for Reggie than Doug Bowser, and maybe that's just because Doug Bowser hasn't had a chance to really get in there yet. But when Reggie was at the Game Awards, he just took everyone's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, Reggie has that legacy. Doug Bowser is still getting his foot in the door. I think he'll get to that point.
Bowser does have the cool name going for him, though.
Exactly.
That's
and
true.
now they have a Bowser in the Nintendo New York store, so...
Yep, he's taking over.
That they replaced the Donkey Kong with on DKC's 25th anniversary.
I know, it's awesome.
Which still kills me. I can't.
Yep. Just, nope, no for you. Other minor thing that happened that day was Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy released on the Switch, which is great port. No, not really much to say there. Although I'm still hoping for like the next 3 games to get released as a trilogy as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for. Like, my wife and I want to play 4, 5, and 6 on the TV so badly, because we played 1 through 3 together and we loved playing them together, but playing on the DS isn't the same, and so we kind of dropped 4 because we don't want to play on the DS together. So Derek, pull some strings, man. Do what you gotta do.
I'm trying.
Come on, man. This is on you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I pulled some strings, and on February 27th, we got the news that Pokemon Sword and Shield were officially revealed in a Pokemon Direct, and they showcased the new starters. No other Pokemon, but we got those starters, and sort of set the tone for the year where we really didn't get a ton of early information about Pokemon. We got the basic stuff, but they kept a lot close to their chest, which was really cool. And man, it's crazy to think they announced Sword and Shield that early in.
It's weird to think back to this reveal. They didn't reveal the wild area. They didn't reveal new Pokemon outside the starters. They didn't reveal that you could encounter Pokemon without random encounters. It just kind of looked like another Pokemon game at the time.
We were so blissfully ignorant at the time because you know what else they didn't reveal? That there wouldn't be a national Dex. And we were so blissfully ignorant. Oh, this is going to be a great, fun Pokemon hype cycle. Cool, yeah. Gen 8, we had no idea what we were in for.
Yep.
Poor Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But, yeah, well, that takes care of February, so let's move into March. And we got a little bit of news on March 2nd where Sakurai actually talked a little bit about his health issues while working on Smash, specifically having to work with an IV at one point.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
that man is
Sakurai,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, he really is. Didn't know that a whole lot to say. Just another example of Sakurai just overworking himself for our entertainment. Besides that, that's dark.
One
as
more
that is
reason
to
we
say.
don't deserve him. Yeah.
I know. Man.
But even more beyond that, which is kind of funny in retrospect, Nintendo saying to their mobile partners, "Don't over monetize."
Oh.
They didn't stick to that.
They need to talk to the Mario Kart Tour team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing. But also on the 6th, we got the Lavo VR announced, which Andre was definitely excited for, and a few of you tried out as well.
Yeah, Andre and I actually previewed it together, and I was, like him, I was pretty impressed right out of the gate, and I think, what we ended up getting was pretty reflective of what Andre and I previewed at the event. It's entry-level VR that's way above what you'd get with something like Google Cardboard, but it's obviously not something as intense and good as PlayStation VR, Oculus, or whatever, but it's great entry-level VR, and that you can build yourself. It's really cool.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about it a bit more when we get to the release date, but just the announcement itself, it seemed like a natural place for Labo to go. It was just like a natural extension of that sort of building to gameplay formula they had going. It made a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
I was over the moon about this announcement, and I'll wait until we talk about the actual release, but didn't quite keep up with my hype.
Yeah, that happens. You know what also seems strange and not hype? Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn on the 3DS. This was the early 2019 was our last gasp of the 3DS, and this is one of our last releases. And it's fine. It's Kirby Epic Yarn on 3DS. That's really all there is to say about it.
Yeah, I reviewed this one. It feels like it contradicts itself because there's power-ups in this, which was kind of the point of Epic Yarn was to not have power-ups. It's like not to be like a proper Kirby game, and it makes an easy game even easier. So I don't look back on this one very fondly.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever play this one over the original Wii release.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of in the same wheelhouse as Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. It's like, it's great if you don't have a Wii U, but otherwise, why would you play it if you'd already played the original?
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm actually curious if any of us actually got a chance to play Baba Is You, one that was released on March 13th.
I did. It makes me feel so dumb. I played it for an hour, and I really appreciate it, but I just can't get any further than that.
Yeah, well, if you guys are saying that, I will not play it still, because I don't have the patience for really intense puzzle games. I just don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It gives you like a real sense of satisfaction when you do solve it. You actually feel clever when you figure it out. But yeah, it is effing hard. I mean, it can and does at times tear down your confidence. Like I went in thinking I was a pretty smart guy. I'm not.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what scared me away. Is I've heard really good things, but I also heard that, it's rough. It's like it will challenge you because the idea is like moving words around, and the words change the context of things in order to actually solve the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
It's
ingenious. It's just so tough.
And as we learned, actually, this is one of the best indie games, best-selling indie games of 2019. So it clicked with people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
sounds stressful, though. I don't know if it's going to be for me.
Yeah. Not quite as relaxing as... you like to play Picross, don't you?
Oh, I love Picross, yeah.
Also on March 13th, though, Nintendo turned 130 years old because, gotta love those Hanafuda cards.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Crazy to think, but...
When you really think about it, that's crazy. Like, that's so long.
I know.
It really is. To go from like simple card games and things like that to like, let's get into the video game market. Why not? Or the arcade.
This has to be fake news because weren't they doomed like a long time ago? I thought
They're doomed every decade.
right. I thought, how did they make it this far if they were doomed? I can't figure it out.
They should respect their legacy and put the Love Hotels as a stage in Smash.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh wow!
So in for that. They should have a Hanafuda card, like a traveling Hanafuda card, as a stage in Smash. That would be such a cool nod to their legacy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
But oh well. But still cool. Not a whole lot to say other than 130 years. Holy crap!
Yeah, seriously.
And still doomed.
Yep, still doomed. Any year now, it's going to be just be done.
Instantly
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. March 21st, we actually had another Nindy showcase where we got the announcement of Cuphead for the Switch, the reveal of Cadence of Hyrule, and Blaster Master Zero 2, all of which are out now, and all of which are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blaster Master Zero 2 in particular was a shadow drop, which was just a great surprise for me because I loved Blaster Master Zero, and this sequel, this is like a classic Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 2 type. This sequel is better and bigger in every way, and it's anybody who likes the first one should play this game, and anyone who likes good games should play this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This was a really good Indie showcase. I think it was the last Indie showcase actually. 'Cause they moved on to something else. I think they call it Indie World now rather than
Yes.
Indie
Yeah,
Showcase.
Indie World.
Right.
Yeah, but this was a great one. They had a Nintendo and indie collaboration with Cadence of Hyrule. That's unprecedented, and it feels like moving forward, other indie developers might get a chance with Nintendo IP, and that's just so exciting.
Yes.
I would love that. And it was also the time we got our Nintendo and Xbox crossover, essentially, with Cuphead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Cadence of
which I mean,
Hyrule
that
was
of
a lot
course,
fun.
it's funny that Cuphead is the last thing we talk about just because it seems so like, oh yeah, Cuphead on Switch now, but at the time, this is like, whoa, this is an Xbox exclusive on Switch, and that of course opened so many possibilities for what might happen next, and of course we now know that would be Ori, and now we're at the same place, what's going to happen after this? So, what a big deal that was.
And also Banjo-Kazooie.
Right, yeah.
Right.
What a year.
I know.
Seriously.
Amazing.
And speaking of amazing, not too long after 9 dropped, we got Final Fantasy VII on the Switch. Finally justifying Cloud and Smash.
Right.
Yeah. I just got my physical copy of this, and it's insane having Final Fantasy VII on a cartridge.
Yeah.
That actually is. When
That's
you,
why
yeah,
it wasn't
put it
on
in
the
that context.
64. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, this is just such a monumental release, and it still holds up, obviously. But it's insane to have this PlayStation, this relic of the PlayStation era, on a Nintendo platform. And this is the game that basically took Nintendo off their path. Like, it gave Sony the big third-party push, and Square didn't even really work for Nintendo for years after this. So it's just crazy to have this back with Nintendo.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Oh boy. But then we, on the 29th of March, we got the reveal of Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, which after taking Olympics off. So this was actually a legit surprise.
Yeah. It's a cool surprise too. They showed some screenshots and they also revealed a bunch of other Olympic games. I think they revealed a mobile game just called Sonic at the Olympic Games, which I think is coming out next year. But
Right.
that's just so funny.
Yeah, Mario doesn't go mobile. Even that's
It's
a lot.
funny, when this was announced, it felt like it would be fresher than I think it ultimately ended up being, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the actual release date, but I felt like an excitement about this game that I hadn't felt around any Mario and Sonic game. It just felt like there was more build-up around this game, and then it just kind of didn't deliver in many respects, in my opinion, but we'll get to that later. It was still a cool announcement.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
kind of
feel
feel
you.
the same way. I was thinking since it's Tokyo 2020, that's, Nintendo's home country, they're actually having the Olympics there. I was pretty hyped for it as well. So,
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of ties into the excitement I felt for the game that released on March 29th, which was Yoshi's Crafted World, and it's a fine game, but I don't think about it much at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, Woolly World was so much better. Like, Derek, you and I both loved Woolly World, and I think we were both really excited about Crafted World for that reason. And it just turned out to be it came up short in every way. It's still a good game. It's fine. I'd play through it. I don't regret playing through it, but it didn't stick with me like Crafted World. And that soundtrack. What is it with Yoshi and getting soundtracks wrong, both really right and really wrong? Because you got a game like Woolly World, which has a fantastic soundtrack, and then you have the Crafted World soundtrack, which just brings to mind New Island, which was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, what happened here?
It's sad.
I also loved Woolly World. So good. It was so
Yoshi
sweet.
just needs a nap. He needs to just rest for a while. I don't want any more Yoshi games anytime soon.
Yeah, he can take a break. He can take a break, and I think he'll probably get a break after Crafted World at this rate.
Be careful what you say, John. What if they do a Yoshi's Sleep World or something?
That could be awesome. Like Yoshi's Dream World?
Yeah.
That actually would be really cool.
You just came up with a really good idea.
All right, fine. I was thinking Pokemon Sleep.
Oh, nice. I do kind of hope, I guess I find myself hoping that they do port Woolly World to the Switch at some point, just because it's such a better game, and it deserves to be played by more people than who owned the Wii U and cared about Yoshi at that time.
That is so true. I'm all for that as well.
It's probably the best Yoshi game since the original.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, moving into April. On April 3rd, we got the Super Nintendo World announced for Universal Studios Singapore, which at that point it's just like, yeah, it's another Super Nintendo World. We're going to merchandise this like crazy. Not a huge surprise there. But we also got a Labo VR updates that were coming to Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, which Andre definitely got a lot of use out of the Breath of the Wild one.
Yeah.
This got me really excited, because this was, I think, 7 days before the release of Labo VR itself, and it adds just so much more value to the headset. I didn't ultimately end up enjoying Odyssey that much, because Odyssey was basically like 10 minutes of content, and I was excited for it though. I thought it could be VR's Mario moment, because it was literally Mario in VR. But that was just really underwhelming. Breath of the Wild though was pretty cool.
Yeah. I was excited about the announcement for sure. I was like, oh cool, they're actually going to follow through with the Labo VR and bring in the big names, the AAA games. This is cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like conceptually being able to play Breath of the Wild in VR is really cool. I know Andre got a lot out of it, and I don't know, for me, I tried it, and despite using the techniques he outlined in his video about it, I didn't feel well playing it. Like, and I don't usually get sick. I don't get motion sickness, none of that, but after about 7 minutes of playing Breath of the Wild in VR, I started feeling really bad, and I was like, I can't do this. But conceptually, it's really cool. Like, I wish I had the time and like the not getting sick from it to play through the whole game again in VR, because it's a really cool idea. But I don't know, I might try it again someday, but I was not feeling well.
Oh, that does not make me feel good, because I can't play first-person shooters for the most part. I get sick of those, and I haven't played the Labo VR yet, so that's kind of sad to hear.
That's what's so weird.
Sick.
Is like other things that make people sick don't affect me, but that did. I don't know what it is, but it's worth giving it a shot. I think again, conceptually, it's really cool.
I need to find someone who has it so I can try it.
I feel the exact same way. I'm maybe 5 minutes into Labo VR and I start to feel like I'm gonna just vomit.
No.
It's only Zelda for me though. Like other Labo VR stuff I can play forever, but it's
that's true.
Zelda.
Like Odyssey VR is fine, but they do say, I think the sweet spot for VR to make most people not experience motion sickness, I think, is 90 frames per second.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Well, that's
Breath of the Wild is running at about 15.
Yeah.
But with Breath of the Wild, I feel the camera is smooth, which doesn't really work for VR. Like with Odyssey, you move around, it's basically in real time. But even in VR, Breath of the Wild still has that smoothness to it, which just feels kind of disjointed with your own movements.
Right.
Yeah. But, I guess let's kind of get into that. Real quick, before that, Labo VR came out on the 12th of April. We also got Hellblade released on the 11th of April, and I haven't had a chance to really play it on Switch much, but I saw it in action, and God, that game looks gorgeous for on Switch.
Mm-hmm. It's a technical marvel on Switch, to be honest. I mean, yeah, of course, if you put it up next to the PS4 version, that looks way better, but in its own context, it's amazing what they were able to pull off with the Switch version of this game.
Absolutely.
And it's technically another Xbox game, seeming as Microsoft now own the studio.
That is true.
Oh, right. Right.
That's crazy. But, let's get into April 12th, where we got Labo VR released. And, Steve, you said, you talked earlier about how you were really hyped for this. To no real effect, apparently.
Yeah, Labo came out, and when they announced it, I was super hyped because a VR set with Zelda was like the thing that I'd always wanted. I had a VR set for years before this, and it just wasn't even remotely close to what I was hoping for. Like I said, Labo VR runs at like this intolerable frame rate for my stomach, apparently. And Odyssey was just kind of a nothing experience in VR for me. The built-in tools were just disappointing. I thought it was a neat... It ended up being very well in line with how I feel about the rest of Labo, is that it is a cool, like, technical demonstration of things you can do with the Switch, but not really a product I want to spend any real amount of time with.
That's kind of how I felt about Labo in general, so it fits.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I loved Labo VR. I felt the Toy-Con felt like a natural extension of what's going on screen. Like the blaster game, for instance, you're holding the blaster out in real life, and on screen that's happening too. And I felt every one of those core games were really fun. When they applied Labo VR to other games, it wasn't as strong, but the core games that focused on the Toy-Con were all really fun. And there's some particular of the garage ones that are quite good too, where they've built other games using the Toy-Con that aren't like meant to be used for those structures. I remember there was one where they're firing a ball at you, and you use one of the Toy-Con to basically wallop it back into a net, and it felt good to do that. It felt like you're actually swinging that racket in real time, and it's impressive that they could do that on such cheap hardware.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about the blaster. It is really, it feels visceral. It feels like you're there doing what you're doing. It really is for a potentially $30 entry-level VR set. It's really, really impressive stuff. What's weird about it is that they've now, as you kind of touched on, John, when they apply it to other games, it's not as interesting. But there's one game they haven't applied it to which makes the most sense, and that's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm still waiting for that. When are we going to get that? Because that could be seriously amazing. Like Zelda, great. Smash, you don't need it. Mario Kart, it sells itself.
Maybe they'll release that with Nintendo World, because that sounds like a ride that they might have there. So it could be like the way you experience it at home.
Maybe that's why they're like, we don't want you to have too much fun at home. Like you need to
exactly. You gotta come to Nintendo World. Yeah.
It is weird that they'll do the Labo vehicle kit, the Labo bike, and then be like, nah, no VR.
Exactly.
It's so weird. I'm still thinking maybe we'll get an update in 2020. I'm hoping.
I'm hoping
my
that
guess
would be
is
great.
that I don't know if you guys remember when we were all at E3, we got invited to go play a Mario Kart VR experience.
Right.
But ultimately it was like 2 hours away from the show and was happening like 30 minutes after the show ended for the day, so we didn't make it.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe that existing deal doesn't somehow impact the ability for Nintendo themselves to release a VR update for Mario Kart 8.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be the new catch for Mario Kart 9.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Perfect.
VRio Kart.
Oh, God.
Oh, I like it.
Nice. I like
Love it. Oh, goodness. Well, let's go ahead and move on to April 17th, which basically a lot of nothing news, but in reality, but people got all curious about a mystery character in Retro Studios' gift to Reggie when he was finally, leaving. And they showed this and like, who's that character? We don't recognize that character. And I don't know if it ever got fully revealed, but it did drive people nuts about, is that from Metroid Prime? Is this from their game that was canceled? What's going on?
Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could very well just be Samus's blaster. Like, that was never deconfirmed. It could very well just be part of a blaster. But it does look like a robot.
Yeah, it does. So who knows? But it's just funny to see the internet lose its mind over things. I mean, we saw that happen pretty recently with the whole Splatoon holiday artwork.
Yeah. And didn't someone at Playtonic have a bag that said Microsoft on it or something? And
Yeah,
there was a
exactly.
big deal about that too.
Background details are not always clues.
Yeah.
A purple chair does not mean Waluigi's coming to Smash.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Wasn't there a hand in this image though?
Maybe.
I'm looking.
I think it was like a robot. It looked like a robot hand, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like the piece that could have been Samus's blaster, but I think there was also like a robot hand. I'm looking for the image now.
I think they were the same thing. I think it looked like the corner of Samus's blaster, but it also looks like a hand.
Well, hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Who really knows?
Okay, I don't have time to dig into this, but
yeah, exactly. It's not a huge deal. It's just
man.
it's just funny to see people continually lose their mind for no reason. But on the 16th, I actually jumped ahead. We got these a little out of order. But Final Fantasy X and X-2 Remaster hit the Switch a little less than a month after Final Fantasy VII. Like, this was when Square was just, like, pumping out those Final Fantasy games. And, again, hard to say anything more that we didn't say about 7 already. It was, like, just cool that it's there.
Yes. So happy it's there. I love Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Oh, it's my favorite game in the series still, or among them. It's a fantastic game that anybody who likes JRPG should experience, and the fact that it's portable. I mean, obviously it was on the PS Vita earlier, but like the fact that it's on an actual a handheld console hybrid that actually sold really well and is a success is really awesome. Because 10 and 10-2 both having them portable is so cool.
It's really awesome. It's my favorite Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and April seemed to be Nintendo's March for 2020, because on the 17th we got Joker's release along with the stage builder in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So yeah, our first, I guess, DLC that's part of that actual pack.
Mm-hmm.
Joker felt like one of the biggest launches to me of all the DLC characters. I think people were just very thirsty for him because they announced him in December and released him in April. So there's 4 months of nothing. So people were just very thirsty for this character to launch. And the fact that the launch of Stage Builder 2, which was the first thing you could do in Smash outside of just fighting, was pretty cool. So yeah, I think Joker was just a really cool release, and people were very excited and buzzed for him to finally come out.
Yeah,
so I'm over here holding Piranha Plant's ears closed because you just called it nothing, John. How could you be so
Oh man, that's not what I meant, Piranha Plant.
No, I know. No, but I think another reason it felt so huge, besides the wait for Joker, was the fact that this was when Nintendo still hadn't quite figured out server overload, the fact that would probably happen. So I was actually in a Vegas hotel room at the time. My wife and I were vacationing in Vegas, and of course, Vegas hotel room Wi-Fi usually sucks, and so it took me like 7 or 8 hours to actually get Joker, because even if you were in an ideal situation, it was taking you a few hours. Nintendo bungled this launch so badly, but thankfully they learned from it, as we will later discuss with the Hero and Banjo-Kazooie and Terry launches.
That's true. I remember Derek was one of the only ones who got it at the beginning.
Yeah, I happened to be visiting Amy so we could record stuff for her channel, and we tried it, and I was the only one of all of us that actually was able to download Joker, and I had to handle all the Joker's coverage by myself, gradually get it out there, and had so many people in the comments being like, how are you able to show this? How are you able to do this? You're so lucky. Meanwhile, all the rest of you guys had nothing. Poor Steve, you deleted Smash and tried to reinstall it, and that, I think, bungled even more for you? I'm not sure.
No, so the story behind that is that I had started downloading the patch, and it was taking so incredibly long that I just deleted the game out of frustration and re-downloaded it, because they bring in the patches. I ended up, even though I nuked my entire game, I got Joker before Andre, who was still just trying to download the patch. But it still took me over 2 hours to get it. So yeah, it was just insane. You were unfortunately saddled with a ton of work thanks to Nintendo singling you out.
Yeah. I mean, at least we got that content up.
And the funny thing is, I couldn't get it on my own Wi-Fi, and I was right next to him.
Yeah, somehow it worked for me. Like, we're right next to each other. I got it. She didn't. Who knew? Who knows?
So weird.
Outside of our own sphere, Zero, like a really prominent Smash player, if you're unaware, was literally streaming himself trying to download Joker, and it ended up that like one of his followers lived nearby and ended up bringing him a Switch with Joker on it just so he could play on his stream. Amazing. It was just such an insane night.
Wow.
That's fun. Speaking of like pro Smash play, I think John will agree with me here. For Joker being the first of the Fighters Pass characters to be released, I'm surprised he's flown under the radar this long going into December. Like, there's no sort of crazy Bayonetta power differential in Smash 4 this time, but it's still widely agreed that Joker's, the best character in the game by at least a decently narrow margin, and I'm surprised he's flown under the radar this long with Arsene. I'm guessing you feel the same way, John. Yeah.
Yeah. He felt powerful at launch too, so it's weird that he went this long without properly being noticed. But it's a cool balance though, because he's kind of weak without Arsene, but you can very easily get Arsene out though, is the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Real quick, we'll just get through a couple more of these releases. On the 18th, we got Cuphead and Katana Zero, and then on the 23rd, we got Mortal Kombat 11. Both, all of them great games. Katana Zero, I enjoyed it, but I gotta say the ending left me feeling a little cold. Like, it's obviously sequel bait.
Agreed. Yeah. Great
Katana
game,
1.
but yeah. Katana 1, exactly. I think the thing that stands out to me most about Mortal Kombat 11 is that was when Derek and I were at PAX East, and that was like the big showpiece game for Switch. But it was right across the aisle from the Switch build of Bloodstained, which was just, to call it a mess would be really kind. And so that's really what Mortal Kombat 11 stands out to me most, because it would look so good next to Bloodstained, which was a mess. Which I don't know if that says something good or bad about Mortal Kombat, but that's what I remember most about it.
Mortal Kombat 11 was really interesting for us because despite it looking really good and running fairly well on the Switch, we were not really allowed to cover it on that console much.
Right.
There was a ton of limitations around what we could and could not show, and when review time came around, we didn't get a copy till the day it came out for the Switch, so we ended up reviewing on PS4, which made our audience a little upset with us, but, what can you do, right?
Yeah.
But I love the game, but honestly, I haven't stuck with it through the DLC. I don't tend to stay on fighting games for a long time, though, in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. It's neat. I watched somebody play the story mode and got that sense, because that's kind of all I'm interested in with Mortal Kombat anymore. Like, it's fun to play a little bit, but I don't need to go really into it. So,
right.
Yep. But then on the 25th, because it was interesting, because everybody was talking about okay, Joker's in Smash. When are we going to get a Persona game on the Switch? Like, are they going to port 3 and 4? Are they going to put 5 on here? What are they going to do? And we had this big event coming up, and the Persona game we're getting on the Switch is Persona 5 Scramble, which is a Dynasty Warriors spinoff for the game. Now, we know a lot more about it now, and it's looking really good. Very stylized, really fits the whole Persona 5 look. But at the time, we were like, what does that... Like, really? This is all we're getting? They're not taking advantage of this?
Yeah, I think most people wanted the full game, like Persona 5 or R or something, to come to Switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you recall, in December, they trademarked the name Persona 5R and Persona 5S, and everyone just assumed that S meant Persona 5 Switch,
Yeah.
which
Right.
technically it is Persona 5 on Switch, it's just not the Persona 5 people want.
Yeah, I mean, and despite how good we've seen Scramble now looks, this still feels off to me. It still feels just really off and ill-considered to me that some deal wasn't brokered with Atlas to get 3, 4, and 5 on Switch, or just 5. It just, I don't know, not royal, but like, it just feels weird that they're not actually going all in on putting actual core Persona games on the Switch with Joker and Smash. It's very strange.
Scramble does look a lot better now, though. Like, when they initially revealed it, it just kind of looked like a Persona 5 Muso, whereas now it has an identity all of its own, but back at the reveal, you didn't really get that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, that's coming out soon, at least in Japan, so
Yeah.
that'll be fun to check out. Real quick, just ending off April with 3 other releases, mainly two indie games, kinda. We got SteamWorld Quest, Box Boy and Box Girl, and then on the 30th, we got Final Fantasy XII, just finishing out our non-stop Final Fantasy games.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Is that the final Fantasy?
I mean, for now. I mean, I think we got World of Final Fantasy, but I forget when that came out, so...
We also got 8 remastered later on.
Oh, that is true.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, that is
I believe
true.
World of Final Fantasy was the prior year.
Yeah,
Might be
right.
wrong
Yeah,
there,
that
though.
was last.
And we still have Crystal Chronicles coming next year, so they're still all over the place.
Yeah.
Derek, you and I still have beef because we keep getting these Final Fantasy games, which is great, I'm loving it, but you made this prediction last year, or earlier this year, where you're like, oh, yeah, Chrono Trigger on Switch, which I've been unable to stop thinking about ever since. I thought about literally every day ever since, and it still hasn't happened, so
Me
you and I
too.
have
They
beef
need-
until it does happen.
They need to make it happen. They need to put... seriously,
do.
at this point, they just need to do a remake, taking the Dragon Quest XI's engine and using that for Chrono Trigger.
That's the dream.
That's the dream right
heaven.
there.
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Don't
What we're
say
gonna
that.
get is the Steam port for $25, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't
I'll
say
allow
it. Don't
it.
make it real.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'd
I'll
buy
take
it. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say one thing about these releases. Final Fantasy XII, I bought it when it first came out on PS2, I didn't enjoy it, and I've thought about going back into it with the remaster, and I just haven't. I can't get into this game.
Same thing.
I
Same here.
I got a lot further with the Zodiac Age version just because of the gameplay changes they made. Like, it actually does make the game a lot more fun to play, but unfortunately, I only still got about halfway through the game because nothing can fix the dreadfully dull characters and story in 12. Other than Balthier and Fran. They're awesome, love them. Bosch is okay, but it's just such a boring world and characters and story. The game's a lot more fun, but it didn't just pull me in like other Final Fantasy games do in terms of the world and story and such.
Yeah, I petered out on that one too. Something just didn't grip me. I don't know if it was the pacing in the mid area, but I don't know. I dropped
Pacing's
off on
really
that.
slow, and it's not my kind of setting and vibe. It's just, I hear you, John. Like, I got further with a new version, but it wasn't enough to push me through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And really, nobody talks about SteamWorld Quests. I guess it did all right. It was in the top selling of the year, but it did not have the buzz that I saw SteamWorld Dig 2 have.
Right.
So.
Yeah, not my vibe.
No, same here. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into May, where on May 10th, we got the release of Detective Pikachu, a decent video game movie.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah,
it.
the lead up to this was insane. It was an event just seeing every different Pokemon reimagined in that realistic style, and I was really excited for this.
It was a lot of fun.
Mr. Mime.
Oh God, yeah. No, I enjoyed it. Like it was my wife and I went to see it, and we had a good time. It was one of the better video game movies that we've ever seen, I think. And it's just weird that it came out in May. It feels like it was yesterday. It's nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It was pretty wild going up to New York with Amy to see the preview, like the early screening.
Yeah, that was a
That they
lot of
had.
fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like
I
a
remember
fancy
that.
to do, but it was
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool.
definitely not a big thing at all. It's just like, well, here you go. Go into this building, go up to this floor. Here's a small theater. Enjoy.
Yeah.
No introductions, nothing's just, okay, we're going to run the movie now.
Yeah, I was just
It was
happy
pretty
to
much the
see
same in
signs.
London as well. Like we went to
Oh, was
this
it?
pretty low-key venue, and they just ran the film.
Yeah. I hope we get this many invites for Sonic.
Yeah, that would be great.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh
Baby
God, I can't wait.
Sonic.
But then on May 15th, we got the Super Mario Maker 2 Direct, which revealed online multiplayer, night themes, more themes like 3D World, and a story mode, which, was looking promising at the time. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this looks good. I don't know how many of these actually panned out. I guess night themes and the more themes, but that's about it.
I think story mode was
was
fine.
cool.
Yeah, it was fine. I think the one that really doesn't belong here is online multiplayer. I mean, that just
Right.
turned out to be a total sham, and just what a mess that ended up being. And it still isn't great. I don't know what happened there, really, other than Nintendo and online, but even for them, it's, like, really bad.
Yeah.
And that came out later on the 28th. They revealed that you can't play with friends online in Mario Maker 2, just randoms.
Right.
So it made it even better.
Now you can. Several months later, now you can, but the actual gameplay is still terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then as far as other game releases, we got on May 16th the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, and on the 21st we got Resident Evil 1, 0, and 4, along with Team Sonic Racing. So a lot of good games all
Busy time.
mushed in there.
Yeah, Team Sonic Racing is an interesting case, just because, remember, especially when I previewed at E3, the prior E3, it was looking so bland and so by the numbers, especially for a game from Sumo, and it just seemed so meh after Sonic and All-Stars Racing transformed, and then something changed. Like, they took a few extra months of development time, and it came together, and the game ended up being, not a huge splash. It came out, and it kind of came and went, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Around the same time as Crash Team Racing as well, so it's very cool to have these two brand new kart racers just sort of going against each other.
Right.
And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a port of a Wii U game. So it's just cool to have some brand new kart racers on the field.
Yeah. Although I saw a video, and Team Sonic Racing's online community is pretty dead right now, so I think Crash ended up being the winner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
The Resident Evil ones, though, were devastating. I mean, they're decent ports, but to release them all for $30 and do nothing new was heartbreaking, especially with 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like little reason to pick those up.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Castlevania was a little more exciting. The fact that they had our first re-release of Castlevania Bloodlines, a lot of great classic games in there that I wouldn't have expected to be part of the collection. And even later on, we got the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, which is a lot easier and more fun.
Yeah, they nailed that.
Good stuff. And then on the May 22nd, we got the beta for Mario Kart Tour, which I think Andre was the one who did that, and I think he enjoyed it at the time, but it also took him a little while to realize that he wasn't actually playing online with other people, despite the names.
Right.
Yeah. It's worth noting that Andre doesn't hate Mario Kart Tour quite like we do. He still kind of enjoys it, but he doesn't love it.
Me too,
though.
actually.
Well, that's
Really?
not here today.
I can't stand it.
I don't love it, but I still play it for some reason, and I can't really figure out why.
And we can get to that more once we get to its actual
that,
release.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
So I think that covers it for part 1 of our 2019 Nintendo Year in Review. I did not expect us to take this long just to get to May. Apparently there's a lot to talk about that we kind of forgot about from the beginning of the year. But there's still quite a lot to go over, so be sure to come back for part 2. And thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And of course, be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Nintendo and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.